In today's video, I'm sharing 3 summer recipes that are perfect for hosting. They are super quick to make and can be prepared in advance, which means you can enjoy time with your guests instead of spending ages in the kitchen. The first recipe features watermelon, which is the ultimate summer fruit in my opinion. And paired with tangy feta, this is the perfect summer salad for your next get-together. To make it, I started by cutting a small watermelon in half. Ideally, you need a seedless watermelon for this recipe, but I'm sure if you can find one, any watermelon would do. And I didn't really have a plan for how I was going to cut this. I was going for cubes, but I think I just ended up with random chunks somehow. But yeah, I just chopped about half of the watermelon in small pieces of roughly equal size. I then added all the watermelon in a big bowl, and then for my feta, I'm just chopping it up in small pieces as well. I then took a bunch of mint leaves off their stalk and then chopping them finely to add to my salad. Once everything was prepped, I added my feta and mint to the bowl with the watermelon and giving it a gentle mix to make sure everything is incorporated, but try not to break up the watermelon too much. And once everything was mixed, you can leave it in the fridge for a bit for all the flavors to come together, or you can serve it straight away. Especially if you had your watermelon in the fridge, it won't matter. So I served my watermelon salad and our first recipe is ready. Super easy and super quick to make. Perfect for summer hosting. Let's try the watermelon salad. When I was little, watermelon and feta, I was like, that is a weird combo. But that was until I tried it and saw how well it goes together and how refreshing and nice it is. It's so good. It's a good watermelon. I think watermelon might be one of my favorite summer fruits. It would be a tie between watermelon and nectarine. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite summer fruit. We're so lucky at summertime, we get so many nice fruits and it makes you want to eat more fruit, which is great because it makes you feel great. At least it makes me feel great. It's so good. And a bit of mint adds so much more freshness, but you can skip it if you don't like mint. I was thinking also of putting some balsamic vinegar because I think I've tried it once and it did go well. And it was nice together, but I got scared, so I just left it without any dressing. But let me know in the comments if you make watermelon and feta salad, what dressing do you use? Good watermelon as well. Next up, we're making stuffed peppers, the ultimate side dish for a barbecue or a dinner party, and this couldn't be easier to make. To make it, I started by making my pepper fillings. So for this one, I decided to do cheese with sun-dried tomatoes and olives. So I'm starting by getting a few sun-dried tomatoes and chopping them finely. Next up, I'm adding some olives, and I do prefer to use the unpitted ones as I find they're more flavorful and the texture is better than the pitted ones. And to remove the pit, I just give them a squeeze to flatten them, and then the pit comes out easier. And once I removed all the pits, I'm just chopping them up in small pieces. And now onto the rest of the filling. To a big bowl, I added lots of feta that I'm crumbling up with my hands. I also had a bit of cream cheese, so I decided to add that in too for a creamy texture. Then added the chopped up sun-dried tomatoes and olives, seasoned with a tiny bit of salt and lots of pepper. I then gave it a good mix to make sure everything is incorporated well. Once the filling was ready, I left it on the side to prep my peppers. I'm using the long peppers for this recipe, and I'm basically just removing the top and then emptying any seeds that they might have inside. And these ones were so tight I had to make a little cut to open them up a bit easier, so once they were empty, I'm just using a little spoon and filling them with the cheese mixture. I also tried to push as much filling as I could with my fingers and then filling them up to the top. I continued filling the rest of the peppers, and once they were all ready, I added them to a baking tray. Added the tops of the peppers, tried to close them as much as I could, and then I drizzled with olive oil and seasoned with salt and pepper. I put it in a preheated oven to bake until the peppers are nicely roasted, and this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. I served them on my serving platter and garnished with some basil leaves, and our stuffed peppers are ready. Time for this stuffed pepper. This is so good. So good. I just love roasted pepper, and then you add the feta and the olives and the sun-dried tomatoes. A bit of basil on top as well. So fresh and summery. I just love it. Going for more feta. And you can easily change up the cheese depending on what you like and what you have in the house. I think anything would work so good. I think a bit of melting, like kind of like Gouda or Edam or something like that would also be so good in this, because yeah, I think it will be very nice and like nice to melt. If only there was a tool that you can just stuff more filling in, because it's so good when there's loads of filling. But just the roasted aubergine alone, I love it, so can't complain. This is so good and so easy to make as well. And lastly, I saved my favorite for last. This one is one of my favorite taverna meze, and I was surprised at how easy it is to make. So let's make Kolokithokeftedes, aka courgette fritters. To make it, I started by prepping my courgettes first. I simply cut the ends of 2 courgettes and then using my grater to grate them. And once the courgettes were grated, I'm adding them to a strainer on top of a bowl. I added some salt and let them strain for about half an hour to make sure there's not a lot of water left in them for when I'll be cooking them. And while they're draining, I'm chopping up the rest of the ingredients, so I'm cutting up a few spring onions in small pieces. For herbs, I'm doing mint, so I'm taking the leaves out of the stalk and then chopping them up as finely as I can. And now to a big bowl, I'm adding the strained courgettes, the spring onions and the mint. And since I didn't have any fresh dill, I'm using some dried, so I'm adding a couple of teaspoons. And then to bind the mixture, I'm using a few tablespoons of flour. I'm using spelt flour here, but you can use all-purpose flour too. I also added an egg and seasoned with salt and pepper. I mixed it well with my spoon, and since the mixture looked a bit wet, I decided to add a couple more tablespoons of flour. I then gave it another good mix, and now it's time to cook them. I added lots of olive oil to my non-stick pan as we'll be frying them and let it heat up, and to know when the oil is ready to fry, I had just added a little bit of the mixture and waited until it looks like it's frying it. And once the oil was ready, I added about a couple of tablespoons for each fritter and made it as flat as I can so it can cook through. After a few minutes, I flipped them and let them cook on the other side, and then flip them again until they have a nice golden color. And once they were fully cooked, I transferred them to a plate and continued cooking the rest of the batter. And while they finish cooking, I'm making a quick dipping sauce with yogurt. I'm chopping up a small piece of mint as finely as I can, and then to make the dressing nice and zesty, I'm using the zest and juice of a lemon. And now to make the dressing, I added a few tablespoons of Greek yogurt on my bowl. I then added the mint and lemon zest and finally the juice of half the lemon. I seasoned with salt and pepper and gave it a good mix to make sure everything is incorporated well. And now our dip is ready. I'm serving my Kolokithokeftedes on my serving platter. I also added the dip on the side and some freshly chopped mint all around my fritters. And our yummy courgette fritters are ready. They smell so fresh and summery, they are perfect for your next get-together. And now for the Kolokithokeftedes, I'm not even bothering serving myself. I'm gonna have some from the serving plate because I can't wait. Let's try it alone and then let's dip it. Very good. It's so sweet, that courgette. It's so nice. That's good. And I love feta, and the other 2 recipes had feta, but I feel like a bit of feta in it would be so good. But let's try it with the dressing. That lemon takes it to the next level. It's so good. So good. Gotta have more. I could eat the whole tray, honestly. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give me a big thumbs up, and if you'd like to see what I eat in a day, you can check out this video, and I'll see you in the next one.